Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. Somebody suggested that maybe I start another channel called Things Adjacent. That's an excellent idea. maybe not another channel, maybe just a feature on this channel, like Things Adjacent, right? Um, Whatever. Then you know it's going to be about different stuff. I keep threatening to do stuff like this, but it's hard to find the time, and I won't have the time for about another 6 months. Uh, so usually in the morning, like when I get up, I kind of run through in my head like what I'm going to talk about in my video, and I kind of have this whole I start shaping an idea about what I'm going to talk about, and uh, then I turn on the camera and like it all just flies right out of my head. So I'm sure other people have this problem as well. But firstly, I wanted to address the comment section. And I have to do this every once in a while, just like a little bit of housekeeping. So it's kind of, this is what I'm aware of right now, is that there's a certain a number of people that follow this channel that are of ill intent. They follow this channel in order to thumbs down or jump on anything negative that somebody else is saying in the comment section. I don't know. Some of these people, I know who they are. I have an idea, and other people I think just aren't commenting, or maybe just aren't really making themselves aware. But very quickly, what I wanted to say is that the reason why I know this is because it's the same number every day of thumbs down. And when somebody makes a negative comment in the comment section, it's, like kind of directly at me. It's the same number of thumbs down. It's like, so there's this pool of people, and I know it's a certain size number of people. Anyways, listen, I'm not I'm not like super censorship kind of guy. I allow a lot of things to happen in the comment section that other people might not. But here's the thing that I won't allow in the comment section is directly malicious comments towards other people or towards myself or towards this channel. So if I am aware that your intent is malicious, I will block you and I will delete your commentary. And that's just going to be that. And I'm sorry if that's over the top, but too bad. My channel, my rules. I want this to be a positive place for the people that enjoy this channel, that want to be here. So if you don't want to be here, or if your intent is malicious, which means you don't really care about me or care about this channel or care about the people on this channel, then you're gone. The end. The other thing that I wanted to address is I allow a lot of a pretty wide berth for people and for commentary, and sometimes people run into each other in kind of negative ways, and I try to either say something directly to someone or make it clear, like you cross the line or whatever. Just rules of social engagement. We are adults, right? So whatever you would do in a room with this person, think about it like that. Okay. So if you were in a room with this person, and you're about to say something to them, think about what their reaction might be. Think about if you would say this thing or not. Consider that. Also, if you are commenting on every single thread, or if you are someone who is commenting all the time, just understand, like if you were in a room full of people, or if you were at a social engagement and you had to go into every conversation and go, hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing? How annoying that would be to other people, because people are having a conversation and maybe they don't need you to interject on every single conversation, because it might just end the conversation, because people were like, well, we had something going, but you came along and said, hey, look at me. So I don't want to, there are people that have been on this channel for a long time. There are people that people come and people go, and some people come on the channel and they're like commenting all day long every day, and then they just go away. Some people have been on this channel or followed this channel for a long time, since the channel started. And I don't want to block people, and I don't want to tell them, I don't want to run them off necessarily. But look, if you're, crossing a line and people are starting to get upset or annoyed, I have to say something. So, that's what it is. That's the end of that discussion. But thank you all for your commentary, and thank you for your participation in this channel. And again, yes, I want this to be a positive, safe space for people to come and say what they want to say. And, we're not always going to agree. So just, I generally let people just work it out amongst themselves. I don't really want to interject too much. This is a comment from Ken Lundgreen. And this is in reference to the last video. As a regular viewer, I feel it incumbent on me to add my 2 cents on Julian Assange and his pro-Russian anti-Clinton behavior. I have to accede to the argument that the one attribute of Russiagate wherein he acted as a recipient of Clinton podesta dirt from Russian hacking spies is purely the innocent antics of a good reporter. However, that whole ridiculous episode was just the tip of a much wider and deeper Russian intelligence comprising penetration of the Trump campaign iceberg. Assange is free to publish docs of Clinton and the Dems, sling mud at a sworn enemy who's always been trying to imprison him for life, but he doesn't get to pretend that he didn't know what or why he was doing what he was doing. He's a partisan hack who helped give us Trump, and now he and we have to live with that. And so he left another comment, and I'm going to read that now. And now I have to add this comment: Assange is a martyr and a hero of free speech to whom we should show honor and deference for the great sacrifices he has made for the transparency and honesty in government and industry. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. This is in no way contradicts my severe criticism of him for helping Trump to hurt Clinton. So let's look at Assange just for a moment, and I'm going to move on to some climate stuff. But so back when Assange was releasing dirt on Bush, on the Bush presidency, Assange was the liberal left, free speech, free journalism. He was the hero, right? Everybody was like, Julian Assange, he's the best. And so as soon as Assange actually released dirt on the Clintons or on the left, oh, he's the enemy now. Assange, so here's the thing with Assange, he basically releases any secrets that need to be released, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. He's released stuff about Russia. He just released stuff about Ecuador, and so that's the thing. There is a political move because the current Ecuadorian president is corrupt. He's involved in some scandals, and Assange basically released stuff on him. It's that's maybe not the best move, but it embarrassed the shit out of him. And he was like, well, you're out of here. And he also got IMF funding. The Ecuadorian government received a big old loan from the IMF. So they're like, guess what? You're going to help us get Assange out of there. I don't look at Assange as pro-Trump, not in any sense of the word. I think Assange is anti-corruption. And the point of the emails was not Clinton versus Trump. It was Bernie versus Clinton. When he released those emails, Debbie Wasserman Schultz stepped down. Donna Brazile was forced to step away. People were embarrassed, and they didn't stand up and go, I didn't do this. This is false, because it was in their emails. They had nothing to say. They were guilty of the things that they were doing, which was colluding to cheat Bernie Sanders out of the nomination. So if your problem is with Assange showing dirt and giving us Trump, you should probably rethink that. We should have had a better candidate for the Democratic Party, period. If you think that somebody under FBI investigation as a presidential nominee is okay, if you think that that's a smart thing to do, if you think that's the way to go, just because you're on the left or you're a liberal or you want a woman president, you're not thinking clearly. Women can be criminals, and oftentimes women leaders of countries are often serious warmongers and just as fascistic as their male counterparts. So no, that's not a reason to back somebody just because they have something different between their legs. That's ridiculous. Her policies were the problem. Her corruption was the problem. Her everything, everything that she did, her behaviors were the problem. And that's what people were focusing on, not her sex. This is a problem. Her behaviors were the problem. She did some dirt and she got hurt. And that's what happens. And she hurt us. So if you want to blame somebody for Trump, blame Hillary. Also in those emails, it was shown that the Hillary Clinton campaign elevated Trump. They wanted Trump to be the Republican nominee because they thought, we're going to win this easily. And look how that backfired. So stop blaming Assange. Stop blaming the Russians. Stop, blaming everybody that didn't vote for Hillary or voted for Jill Stein. No. Blame your support for a corrupt ass politician who couldn't even beat the most ridiculous candidate ever to run for the president of the United States. She couldn't even beat that dude. Moving on to extreme weather. This is from the New York Times. Extreme weather, don't say. Really? Extreme weather? In 2019? You mean extreme weather in April? Extreme weather? Whoa. Man, this extreme weather seems to be happening all the time. I wonder what it is. Extreme weather kills 8 as tornadoes and flooding hit the South. A powerful storm system that spawned tornadoes and flooding killed at least 8 people, including 3 children, over the weekend, and left a trail of damaged homes, splintered trees, and power outages stretching from Texas to the Northeast. At least 17 tornadoes blew through Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Ohio. The storms also dumped snow on parts of the Midwest and deluged the Northeast with heavy rain before moving out to sea Monday. In Franklin, Texas, about 125 miles south of Dallas, a tornado destroyed 55 homes, a church, 4 businesses, a duplex, and part of the local housing authority building, the authorities said. Some people had to be pulled out of the damaged dwellings. Others were not as fortunate. 4 people died in Texas, 2 in Louisiana, and 1 each in Mississippi and Alabama. 2 of the children were killed when a pine tree fell onto the car they were riding in during a severe thunderstorm Saturday on a back road in East Texas near Pollock, about 150 miles southeast of Dallas. The large storm system also caused flash floods in Louisiana. A 13-year-old drowned in a drainage canal that filled with water after flash flooding struck Balcomville near Monroe. Separately, 1 person died when a car was submerged in floodwaters in Calhoun. Man, crazy stuff. Heavy rains and storms raked Mississippi into the night. Saturday, as the storms moved east, the storm damaged a roof of a hotel in New Albany, Mississippi, and Mississippi State University's 21,000 students huddled in basements and hallways as a tornado neared the campus in Starkville. A university spokesman, Sid Salter, said some debris possibly carried by the tornado was found on campus, but no injuries were reported and no buildings were damaged. In Hamilton, Mississippi, Robert Scott, 72, said he had been sleeping in his recliner late Saturday when he found himself in his yard after a tornado ripped most of his home off its foundation, according to the Associated Press. The 71-year-old wife, Linda, was in a different part of the house and also survived, he said. They found each other while crawling through the remnants of the house they lived in since 1972. Look, insane. We're living and God has blessed us, said Mr. Scott. A retired manager for a grocery store and meat department said Sunday his neighbors helped him salvage his belongings. In Ohio, a tornado touched down at about 5 p.m. on Sunday in Shelby, a town of 10,000 about 90 miles southwest of Cleveland. About a half dozen homes were damaged and at least 6 people were injured. If there was a silver lining to the cloud that passed us, was the time of day and location just a half mile to the north, and our residential neighborhoods would have been devastated, Lance Combs, the police chief, said on Facebook on Sunday night. The storm, though, didn't spare the Rocket Chevrolet dealership. Oh, darn. Thanks, tornado. sorry, Rocket Chevrolet dealership, but I'm going to applaud cars getting destroyed. High winds whipped much of the eastern, especially if people aren't in them. High winds whipped much of the eastern United States on Sunday from Ohio to Pennsylvania and from New York south to Florida Panhandle. Those reports included many tornado warnings, but not necessarily confirmed tornadoes, weather officials said. The same storm system caused some late season heavy snow, ranging from 4 to 6 inches in northern Illinois, southwestern Wisconsin, and parts of the lower peninsula of Michigan. Springtime is definitely a ramp up time for severe weather. Is it? Is it? Or is it 2000? Is it climate change in 2019? Is that a ramp up time for severe weather? By Monday morning, however, the last vestiges of the heavy rainstorms had moved through Boston, and most of the severe weather was pushing off the East Coast. Early morning showers and thunderstorms with brief high wind gusts greeted the morning in Boston, where 32,500 participants in the Boston Marathon were getting ready for race day. Still, nearly 200,000 customers were without electricity in Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, and New York as of Monday. Okay, moving on to the story from the South China Morning Post. The Bering Sea has reached climate conditions not expected until 2050, scientists say. Oh, what year is it? Oh, that's 30 years ahead of, that's now. Oh, that's now. The Bering Sea saw record low sea ice last winter with flooding in nearby areas. And in this is a funny bullet point. However, oceanographer Phyllis Stabino says it's too early to attribute the changes to climate change, and she expected a bounce back this winter. Oh, do you? Why would you expect a bounce back? I just don't understand. Phyllis Stabino is a scourge and a danger to the human civilization, or to human beings at large. Phyllis Stabino is not doing her job as an oceanographer or a climate scientist. Scientists who study the northern Bering Sea say they're seeing changed ocean conditions that were projected by climate models, but not until 2050. The rapid changes are leading researchers to wonder if ecosystems near the Bering Strait are undergoing a transformation. The Bering Sea saw record low sea ice last winter. Oceanographer Phyllis Stabino said it's too early to attribute the changes to climate change, and she expected a bounce back this winter. Instead, warm February winds cleared most of the Bering Sea of ice. University of Alaska Fairbanks physical oceanographer Seth Danielson says the changes are triggering biological effects. Commercially viable fish, such as the walleye pollock and the Pacific cod, moved farther north last year. Seabird experts say the seabird die-off that occurred may be tied to changing ocean conditions. Maybe tied. And lastly, I'm going to finish this video up with an article from The Guardian. Only rebellion will prevent an ecological apocalypse. This is from George Monbiot, and this is from today. Had we put as much effort into preventing environmental catastrophe as we've spent on making excuses for inaction, we would have solved it by now. Everywhere I look, I see people engaged in furious attempts to fend off the moral challenge it presents. The commonest current excuse is this: I bet those protesters have phones, go on holiday, wear leather shoes. In other words, we won't listen to anyone who is not living naked in a barrel, subsisting only on murky water. Of course, if you are living naked in a barrel, we will dismiss you too, because you're a hippie weirdo. Every messenger and every message they bear is disqualified on the grounds of either impurity or purity. Welcome to social media 2019. As the environmental crisis accelerates and as protest movements like Youth Strike for Climate and Extinction Rebellion make it harder not to see what we face, people discover more inventive means of shutting their eyes and shedding responsibility. Underlying these excuses is a deep-rooted belief that if we really are in trouble, someone somewhere will come to our rescue. They won't let it happen, but there is no they, just us. The political class, as anyone who has followed its progress over the past 3 years can surely now see, is chaotic, unwilling, and in isolation, strategically incapable of addressing even short-term crisis, let alone a vast existential predicament. Yet a widespread and willful naivete prevails. The belief that voting is the only political action required to change a system, unless it is accompanied by the concentrated power of protest, articulating precise demands and creating space in which new political factions can grow. Voting, while essential, remains a blunt and feeble instrument. The media, with a few exceptions, is actively hostile. Even when broadcasters cover these issues, they carefully avoid any mention of power, talking about environmental collapse as if it is driven by mysterious, passive forces, and proposing microscopic fixes for vast structural problems. The BBC's Blue Planet Live series exemplified this tendency. Oh, I'm sure it was all about like, oh, our wonderful world. But we better be careful because uh, experts say in the near future, we will be running into problems. But not right now. The Bering Sea is devoid of ice. There's no problem there. That's not a problem. Insane people. Those who govern the nation and share public discourse cannot be trusted with the preservation of life on Earth. There is no benign authority preserving us from harm. No one is coming to save us. None of us can justifiably avoid the call to come together to save ourselves. I see despair as another variety of disavowal. By throwing up our hands about the calamities that could one day afflict us, we disguise and distance them, converting concrete choices into indecipherable dread. We might relieve ourselves of moral agency by claiming that it's already too late to act, but in doing so, we condemn others to destitution or death. Catastrophe afflicts people now, and unlike those in the rich world who can still afford to wallow in despair, they are forced to respond in practical ways. In Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi, devastated by Cyclone Idai, in Syria, Libya, and Yemen, where climate chaos has contributed to civil war, in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, where crop failure, drought, and the collapse of fisheries have driven people from their homes. Despair is not an option. Our inaction has forced them into action as they respond to terrifying circumstances caused primarily by the rich world's consumption. The Christians are right. Despair is a sin. As the author Jeremy Lent points out in a recent essay, it is almost certainly too late to save the world. Some of the world's greatest living wonders, such as coral reefs and monarch butterflies, it might also be too late to prevent many of the world's most vulnerable people from losing their homes. But he argues with every increment of global heating, with every rise in material resource consumption, we will have to accept still greater losses, many of which can still be prevented through radical transformation. Every nonlinear transformation in history has taken people by surprise. As Alexei Yurchak explains in his book about the collapse of the Soviet Union, everything was forever until it was no more. Systems look immutable until they suddenly disintegrate. As soon as they do, this disintegration retrospectively looks inevitable. Our system, characterized by perpetual economic growth on a planet that is not growing, will inevitably implode. The only question is whether the transformation is planned or unplanned. Our task is to ensure it is planned and fast. Excellent. Excellent 2 sentences there by George Monbiot. Is the transformation planned or unplanned? Our task is to ensure it is planned and fast. We need to conceive and build a new system based on the principle that every generation, everywhere, has an equal right to enjoy natural wealth. This is less daunting than we might imagine. As Erica Chenoweth's historical research reveals, for a peaceful mass movement to succeed, a maximum of 3.5% of the population needs to mobilize. Humans are ultra-social mammals, constantly subliminally aware of shifting social currents. And once we perceive that the status quo has been changed, we flip suddenly from support for one state of being to support for another. Oh, when people suddenly realize, oh, this climate change is no joke. Oh, this climate change is real. Oh my God, this extreme weather is happening all the time. This could possibly lead to serious environmental problems, food shortages, economic collapse. Oh, maybe it's climate change. That's going to happen real quick. Humans are, where are we? When a committed, vocal 3.5% unites behind the demand for a new system, the social avalanche that follows becomes irresistible. Giving up before we have reached this threshold is worse than despair. It is defeatism. Agreed. Today, Extinction Rebellion takes to streets around the world in defense of our life support systems. Through daring, disruptive, nonviolent action, it forces our environmental predicament on to the political agenda. Who are these people? Another they, who might rescue us from our follies. The success of this mobilization depends on us. It will reach the critical threshold only if enough of us cast aside denial and despair and join this exuberant, proliferating movement. The time for excuses is over. The struggle to overthrow our life-denying system has begun. Good stuff. I'm going to link all of this below, and thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. You know, the goal of this channel is to present people with the truth. And it is for the betterment, you know, at the heart of it is the betterment of people in our condition. And I don't care if it's feudal, or I don't care if it's, you know, hopium or whatever. But, you know, so I appreciate all those that support this channel in a positive, clear fashion. Thank you so much. I appreciate you folks every single day, and I'm thankful for the chance to be able to come here every day and talk to you. It truly is like a great thing. And that's all I have. Until next time, peace.